so far.
What's the better answer? No tasing.
And speaking of HR 3200, you know, at one point, I don't remember which page, but it has the Health Choices Commissioner, or czar as they might be called, and they just announced who that commissioner would be. It's going to be Dr. Kevorkian.
Some choice.
Well, I'm going to start out tonight speaking a little bit about the Constitution. You know, good things like the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the principles, our liberties, our rights. You know, we should speak about them often.
Woo! Remind everybody.
And so, a little story on the Constitution. You probably already know this. As you know, the Constitution is probably one of the most restrictive government documents ever written. It has checks and balances. It's all about small government. It's about limited government. It clearly delineates the power of the federal government. It was in response to King George and other examples. And here our founding fathers, true believers in freedom and liberty, put together this document, and they presented this Constitution to the people of America. But the people of America said no initially. They said no because even though this document was the most confining, restrictive document, they still were not comfortable with it. Only until there was an addition of the Bill of Rights that were protecting people from the very document that the founding fathers just wrote. Only then did they accept the United States Constitution. This bill Bill of Rights included 10 amendments. Not 9, 10, as in there's a 10th amendment. And one of the things in my life, and Mark mentioned this, you know, every day, I'm someone that really has the privilege and the honor of owning a business that could only exist in America. If I practiced my business in most nations, I'd be in prison. Only in America, because we have a Second Amendment, am I allowed to own the nation's oldest gun shop, the A.W. Peterson gun shop in Mount Laurel. And that just gives me a keen sense of what the Constitution means to each and every one of us, and how important it is. And so today, as we see what's occurring in the federal government, what's occurring in politics in general, and thank you for allowing an elected official to come before you. I was a little concerned, like maybe tomatoes. Maybe I probably deserve it in some ways. But I just want to tell you a couple of inside stories about politics. And one is about spending. Spending is good politics. It's bad government. It's bad policy. It's bad for you. But it's good politics. Because politicians have found through spending, they can be reelected. Now I'm hoping that that's changing.
Yep.
Through spending, they have found that if you tax Peter and you pay Paul, as long as there's more Pauls than there are Peters, you can be reelected. And here we are, coming to a point in time where increasingly there's fewer Peters and more Pauls. And that's a problem for our nation. And it takes a stand like tonight, where we come together and we say no to the federal government, no to the expansion. I remember there was a time when I was always concerned about tax and spend. I thought at the time it was, a tax and spend politician was a bad thing. And never in my wildest dreams did I ever imagine there's something worse than tax and spend. And what's worse is borrow and spend. Yeah. Because when you have tax and spend, you can repeal a tax. You can never repeal borrow money.
Wow.
And who's going to pay that borrow money? The government's using that money for today's expenses. And our children and our grandchildren are going to have to pay it back. It is as if we are sneaking into the bedrooms at night and stealing money out of the piggy banks. And unfortunately, in Washington, they talk about partisanship. Well, when it comes to spending, it has been a very bipartisan effort over the years. Holding hands in hands as they've increased the federal debt. Once again, when we think in terms of what's bad for us, what's bad for business, but it's not necessarily bad for government. Now we know the expansion of the money supply due to the Federal Reserve actions. We know that inflation is going to come roaring back. We know it's going to be up in double digits. And we think that maybe government thinks that's bad. But the fact is, inflation is bad. Once again, it's bad for your business, it's bad for you, but it's good for government because it allows them to pay off this incredible historic amount of debt with cheaper dollars. So don't ever assume that the federal government looks at things with the same eyes that you do. Because there are government policies that on the surface we think are bad, but in fact benefit government and the politicians that take advantage of it. Well, I have a plan, and maybe it's not a very good one, but it starts out with the federal government, and maybe we ought to elect a true fiscal conservative to these offices. This plan includes, and we had an opportunity here in the last 10 years, and we failed to do it. We need a balanced budget amendment.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, that's not enough. Because you can balance a budget by borrowing money. So, we need a balanced budget amendment, and we need a limit on how much the federal government can borrow. And finally, for my federal government colleagues, we need elected officials that believe in limited government. We need to get away from listening to the words and looking at their actions. In the case of elected officials, I like to stand up and tell people not to believe a single word I just said. But what I do challenge you to do is to look at my voting record, look at the bills that I filed, or any other elected official, because how they voted, the bills and legislation they file show their priorities, their commitments. Too often, empty words, once again, empty words to us sound hollow. But the fact is, in politics, if you have the gift of gab, if you have the ability to speak well, to read a teleprompter, you can become president.